Do you think of it as a collage book or an artist's book or a scrapbook?
You know, I feel like I never quite fit any mold in any category, in anything I do. So I don't think of them as any of them. I just think of them as art. And, you know, we have to define them as something. So I guess if I had to pick something, it would be an artist book. But it's not your, you know, typical artist book with, you know, a specific narrative and something that's, you know, figured out ahead of time. It's very ongoing. So I guess it's like it's almost, if anything, they're very much like visual journals, like stories of my life and other people's lives and everything that goes on in the world at that time that I happen to include, you know, which could be anything. It could be something really profound. It could be something absolutely trivial. It could be, you know, me adding some of my hair.
Oh, speaking of hair, there's a bowl in there with hair in it.
This was really funny. I've been using hair, women's hair, and handmade bowls that I've made hundreds of.
That's a paper bowl.
Yeah, they're made out of gampi, which is, I would make the paper fibers, the Japanese fibers. They were part of huge installations with dance and performance and big, big installations that I really care about. But the theme of hair, it just keeps coming up. This was actually something really silly. I had this gigantic knot in my head that just grew bigger and bigger and bigger. And I kept not wanting, it was impossible to get it out. So one day, I don't know, I was on the phone for a long time and I decided I would try to get this knot out. And it went on. I think it took me like the whole night to get this knot out. So this is what I came up with. And I just kind of started relating it to, you know, the obstacles of life and all the things that you do. And I made this silly little book. I really think it's very, very silly, but it was fun. And it was called Not There Yet, and, you know, K-N-O-T, and it was hair and money. So oh, here it is. A long time ago, I hacked at my hair all night to make an Italian summer book of pins, hair, and money. It's because I had made a book with pins, hair, and money. 8 years later, I kept the Mediterranean Sea in my hair for months. I returned to America and added a small dose of Atlantic Ocean in autumn. Just last week, I found a knot the size of a fat pincushion or a small animal at the back of my head. I washed my hair for the first time and started to pick out the knot. Friends offered to help and tried to comb, condition, and claw to no avail. Oh, I forgot all of this. Tonight I shut my eyes and pulled and picked like working wool, single hair by single hair, all night. At the very end, I cut the last strand. When I looked down at a nearby book that I had never noticed before, the cover said, "She's not there." I thought it said, "Not there yet." So that's my silly book. And these are the tags, you know, the tags that I use, and you'll see them in other parts of the show, to make these kind of aquiloni, these installations. So I was just silly. We were also doing a show at the time with based on money, which is one of the topics I use a lot. I use a lot of shredded money, and I also do giant installations where I'll have like $250,000 worth of shredded money in bales and on the floor and as part of the artwork. So I'm always questioning the values. And so it's like a long-going story, but in this case it got really particular.
Well, I'm glad that you mentioned the money, because there's a couple of works right behind you that feature the shredded money.
I do these humongous installations with plastic bags, shredded money. In fact, I have to install one a couple days from now. And they're huge. So it was kind of like this desire to have a little tiny, tiny, almost relic from the exhibits. So I just made a little tiny, actually these were little tiny plastic pieces that were part of one of the books that we looked at earlier, the trash books that I did with 7 artists. And these were the 2 pieces that were left over from the trash books. So I turned them into that. The funny thing is, I don't know what comes first. Sometimes the installation comes first, sometimes the book comes first. And sometimes the object that I make for the book later becomes an installation. And often the massive things that I use for the installation, they become little capsules of my work so that they could be handheld, so that people can have a piece of them, so that they could, be in collections and things like that, where the installations are huge. So the book is super important to me on many levels, but it's also nice because it's a way to have the work travel, conveniently, comfortably, and it has a new form.